Trying to find the Nintendo games you want can be a lot like being in a Nintendo game.
Another dead end.
Come on. You can end up looking in all the wrong places.
Oh, no.
Stand back, son. Or you can go to Toys R Us. Toys R Us has the world's biggest selection of Nintendo games and accessories at everyday low prices.
Next time, let's just come to Toys R Us.
The year was 1988, and you walk into your local video game selling shop. Sure, you could go to the counter and still get an Atari 2600, or maybe the new 7800. You could probably pick up an Intellivision on a deep discount by this point in time, or maybe that Sega Master System catches your eye and you consider the possibilities of playing Alex Kidd from the comfort of your own living room. And then, you lay your eyes on the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES. That's the reason you're here after all. By 1988, Nintendo had taken its place behind the wheel to steer the entire industry into the future. But Nintendo wasn't satisfied with steering the industry, they wanted to be the industry. So the higher-ups at Nintendo pull out a calendar and circle 1989 and decide that was when Nintendo and video games would become synonymous. Welcome to Drink the Video Games. I'm Brian, and today we're taking a look at Nintendo's very, very big 1989, aka the year that Mario took over.
We don't know how to free Zelda, but we do know why kids love them and critics hate them. John Stossel reports, nuts for Nintendo, when 2020 continues.
Now, by the time that 1988 rolls around, Mario, Nintendo, they were already the top dogs of the video game world. And this isn't meant to be a rehash of the history of the NES, but for context, the Family Computer or Famicom releases in Japan in 1983. The Nintendo Entertainment System then releases in North America in test markets in 1985 and early 1986, before rolling out to the rest of the country in September of 1986. Europe would get their staggered rollouts in 1986 and 1987. And with North America releases of Super Mario 2, Zelda 2, Double Dragon, all hitting the system in 1988, the Nintendo was the must-have gaming console. That year, in the US, Nintendo sold about 11 million of those NES consoles for roughly 75 to 80% of the total market share. Not too bad, but like Mario with the Magic Mushroom, Nintendo could get much, much bigger. The proof of concept worked. People loved the Nintendo, and the sights would be set on 1989 to leave its competition in the dust.
In all the world of toys and games, there's only one name that holds unprecedented power: Nintendo. For as millions of kids know, when you're playing with Nintendo, you're playing with power. And as retailers across the country know, that means powerful sales. In just 4 short years, we've witnessed the resurgence of an industry, and Nintendo's the leader of the packs. We now command a 75% market share, and the momentum keeps building. There's simply a world of profit in the name Nintendo, and a world of opportunity waiting for the retailers who take advantage of the built-in sales appeal of the Nintendo line. That's why for 1989, we've created a merchandising program that's out of this world. A program that combines the power of the visual cell with the draw of the Nintendo name. Welcome to the world of Nintendo.
To act as a springboard to have that massive 1989, Nintendo needed a platform to speak directly to its core audience, so they would launch the official Nintendo magazine in July-August of 1988 and give players an inside look at Super Mario Bros. 2. Nintendo Power acts as part promotional material, part magazine, and all-out hype train. In the pre-internet era, Nintendo Power was how you knew what to rent, what to buy, how to get good, as the kids say, and how to keep up with your friends on all the news coming out of Nintendo. This soft launch would go free to every member of the official Nintendo fan club, which was about 600,000 members strong, making it immediately the most circulated video game magazine at that time. According to RetroMags.com, Nintendo Power would eclipse 2 million subscribers in 1989, and now that you're playing with Power, Nintendo has set the stage for their very busy year, so to kick things off, we'd better start with breakfast.
Nintendo, it's for breakfast now! Nintendo, it's a cereal! Wow! Nintendo, Super Mario Chunks! Nintendo, in a fruit-flavored crunch! Nintendo, here's Zelda 2! Nintendo, it's very good news! Nintendo, you just can't lose! Nintendo cereal system is a super part of this nutritious breakfast. Nintendo, 2 cereals in 1! Wow!
The Nintendo Serial System was technically released in 1988. Though I've had a hard time pinning down exactly when in 1988 it released. The cereal was pretty unique in that it had two cereals in one. You could pick from a fruity Super Mario Bros. Action cereal, or a Zelda Adventure Series berry-centric cereal. I suppose you could probably combine them, but I'm a purist myself, so I'll stick with one or the other. The cereal was produced by Ralston Cereals of Ralston Purina fame. If you have a pet, you've probably heard of the Purina half of that company. Ralston handled the human food part of the business, including Wonder Bread, Hostess Cakes, and Nintendo Cereal System. This company, headquartered in St. Louis, probably began distributing the cereal around the US in 1988, but was likely into 1989 by the time you could get it pretty much anywhere in the country. I say this because all of the advertisements and commercials I could find for it were dated in 1989. There were two things I know for sure about this cereal. It's claimed that it wasn't very good. It was discontinued by the end of 1989, so I guess that makes sense. But the other thing I know about it was that 8-year-old me had a box of it, and it was amazing. That's probably nostalgia talking, because I don't honestly remember if I liked it or not, but I definitely remember the box and the 2 bags inside of it, and loving that I could get my hands on anything Nintendo. Well, now that we have breakfast sorted, I'll pour up a bowl of Super Mario Bros. Action cereal and see what's on TV.
Holy cannoli, kids, I'm Mario, and I'm telling you, if you're not watching the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, you're gonna turn into a Goomba. Don't be the last on your block to be playing with pasta power. Tune in for the wildest weekday fun in the universe. Join me, Luigi, Princess Toadstool, and Toad. We're gonna kick some Koopa. Woo!
Don't miss the fun. Weekdays at 3:30 on Fox 41.
In 1988, a phone call takes place between Deke Animation and Nintendo. The conversation is about a potential animated kids show featuring the stars of the Nintendo lineup, the Super Mario Bros. Power Hour as it was pitched. It would be a 1-hour-long block of animation designed to bring Nintendo's characters to life and sell more video games. Mario and The Legend of Zelda would be there, of course, and according to a 2019 Polygon article, would also feature cartoons featuring Metroid, Castlevania, Double Dragon, and California games. The final product would be very different, though, splitting the Power Hour up into 2 shows. The first would feature those cartoons, Mario Bros. And The Legend of Zelda, with live-action bookends. Lou Albano and Danny Wells would take on the roles of Mario and Luigi at Mario Bros. Plumbing. This section would generally feature some sort of guest star and a typical TV sitcom sort of setup. Then we'd get into the cartoons, which was the reason I tuned in to the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. The weekday shows would feature an animated Mario Bros. Segment, but once a week, Zelda, Link, and Ganon took over and we got the Legend of Zelda episodes, 13 in all, because the show ran for 13 weeks. The Legend of Zelda segments are something, and if you've watched them, you know what that means. According to an excellent oral history of the Legend of Zelda cartoon from Polygon, the bulk of the interest and dollars being spent on the Super Mario Bros. Super Show were going to the marquee characters, the Super Mario Bros. So the Zelda team basically got to do whatever they wanted, but they weren't given a lot of direction in which to do it, so the team takes the characters they are given and turn their animated series into one part Dungeons & Dragons story and one part romantic comedy, paying homage to the popular Bruce Willis Sybil Shepherd show, Moonlighting. Now, despite the Super Show's short run, only airing new episodes weekdays from September to December of 1989, it would go into syndication and play pretty continuously until about 1994. The other half-hour block of the Power Hour would take the Saturday morning slot and incorporate some of those other game franchises.
Your zapper, there isn't much time left. Come on! Captain N and the N team are blasting your way. The one and only. But hey, call me Kevin. But can they protect the Palace of Power from the bogus Mother Brain? Piece of cake. Or will her bumbling villains destroy Videoland? I'll deal with you myself. Find out on the awesome adventures of Captain N and the Video Game Masters.
Part of the Big ZZ comic strip, weekdays at 5:30 p.m. on the Big ZZ.
You'll have to remember that, Shadow.
Captain Nintendo began life as a cartoon strip in the Nintendo Power magazine, featuring Brett Randalls, a Nintendo employee who gets caught up in an explosion, which gives him superpowers, electricity from the fingers, ability to create illusions, and bring Nintendo characters and items to life, which sounds pretty cool to be honest. Unfortunately, it's not all good news for Brett, as the explosion also brings to life Metroid's own Mother Brain. This comic serial would be the inspiration for the other show, Captain Nintendo, the Game Master. Actually, TV advertising laws were a bit murky, so we'll just call it Captain N, the Game Master. This time, our hero will be Kevin Keene and his dog Duke, who get sucked into the TV and end up in Videoland. Kevin, aka Captain N, will assemble the heroes Avengers style. Princess Lana, Mega Man, Castlevania's own Simon Belmont, and Kid Icarus will try to get the one-up on Mother Brain and a cast of baddies. All in all, the weekly show pays homage or directly features dozens of Nintendo games over its 3 seasons. That first episode aired on September 9th, 1989, is the bookend to the week of the original Power Hour, and runs for 36 episodes until October of 1991. Captain N gave kids the chance to be a part of the video game worlds that they knew from their games, from their friends' games and the games that they wanted, and it served at keeping those games in the minds of all those kids. In 1989, there were about 40 NES games released here in the US, and between Nintendo Power and Captain N, Nintendo was able to promote them all. But there was one game that eager gamers wanted above all others, Super Mario Bros. 3. And to give everyone the first look at the game, we'll be taking a trip to Hollywood, because 1989 also gives us a very Nintendo-centric feature film. Now before we hit the road for Video Armageddon, I'm going to grab Michaela from Drink the Movies. We're covering The Wizard over on that podcast this week, so if you want a deeper dive on The Wizard, go check that out. But for now, let's see if Michaela has a cocktail to help us pay homage to the most incredible reveal of 1989. Hello, Michaela. Welcome to Drink the Video Games. How are you doing today?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Brian. This is amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm excited to have you on because normally, I have you on, we're talking about a video game, but this month on Drink the Video Games, I'm doing something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about The Wizard over on Drink the Movies. So I'd originally set out to do an episode just about The Wizard, but when I was uncovering The Wizard and the things that Nintendo had going on, it turns out that 1989 was an incredible year for the Nintendos. So the episode took on a life of its own, so to speak. So I'm covering a lot of things that happened for Nintendo in 1989, and the penultimate of that was the film The Wizard. We're talking about it over there, but do you remember seeing this movie back in 1989? Did you go to the movie theater? Did young Michaela wish she had a Power Glove? What's the story?
I did wish I had a Power Glove. I did. My next door neighbor had one, and I was so jealous. I saw this film later, probably like the mid-90s or late 90s. I did not see it in the theater, but fun fact, there is a scene where the dad is going to look for the kids, and there's like a biker bar gang thing situation. They go into this bar, and that bar is originally called Ted's, and it was on 471 in San Antonio, Texas. And if you went a little further down that road, you'd get to my high school, Brian. Fun fact.
Hey, all right. So Fred Savage and co. could have turned around, went and paid you a visit instead, and then maybe you would have watched the movie a little bit earlier. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, The Wizard was a big deal for myself as a youngster with a Nintendo and a dream. I just wanted to go and live in that world. But yeah, The Wizard was always a movie that I liked a lot, and I was excited to learn a little bit more about it here for this podcast episode. So what we're going to be making a cocktail of in homage to today is what happens at the end of that movie. Well, not at the very end, but near the end of the movie at the Video Armageddon, we get our first look, kind of, sort of, at Super Mario Bros. 3. So I thought what we should do today is pay homage to the Super Mario Bros. And to the princess and make up a Princess Margarita.
Well, that sounds like a plan. I'm going to make this for 2. We're going to make a blended drink here, so get your blender out. Make sure it's a good one. What you're going to do is into the blender, you're going to put 4 ounces of silver tequila, 2 ounces of peach schnapps, 2 ounces of freshly squeezed lime juice, 1 ounce of agave nectar, 2 cups of frozen peaches, and a cup of ice. And then you're going to mix it up, and then you're going to pour it into a glass. Now, you could rim this with sugar or salt if you want to. You don't have to. I didn't, and I didn't need to. This is really great. I love the freshness of it. It's super fresh because you're actually using real peaches instead of like peach nectar or peach juice or something like that. So it tastes very authentic. For frozen margarita, a lot of people, have divisive feelings about frozen margaritas. But as far as frozen goes, this one's a really good one to try.
Yeah, it has a nice peach flavor coming through from the peach schnapps and then the addition of the frozen peaches. If you wanted to make this just over ice, you probably could. I would just muddle a couple of peaches and then do the rest of your ingredients there, shake it with some ice and strain it, or, just kind of dump it into a glass with the ice there, and I think that would be okay. But yeah, this was blended, which is, I'll admit, not my favorite way to have a margarita, but if I was going to, something like this I think is really nice. Something with a little bit of a fruit like essence, so like a peach in this instance, or strawberry, something like that will give it a little bit of a bump in flavor as opposed to just a straight up frozen margarita. I think is really nice. And yeah, of course, the princess is in a different castle, but this cocktail right here is in my glass. It's very good. So, so I'm happy to know that was right down the road from your high school. That's exciting. We're going to talk about that and more when we talk about The Wizard over on Drink the Movies. So make sure everyone out there goes and checks into that. So, Michaela, I'm excited to share this Nintendo year of 1989 with you and with everyone else. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian.
Absolutely. So, so thank you so much. So let's get back and talk a little bit about what Nintendo is getting up to with The Wizard.
Back to 1989 when E.T. was invited on set with 12-year-old Fred Savage.
What the movie's about is there are these two brothers that run across country. They run away from home to go to the video game championships in Los Angeles. And it's about, their adventures of how they got there. And along the way, we find out that my brother is a brilliant video game player, and he's the wizard, hence the title.
The Wizard, a film starring Fred Savage, Jenny Lewis, and Luke Edwards, is a cross-country road trip tale. The final destination, Video Armageddon at Universal Studios in Hollywood, California, where the curtains open and the world gets its first look at Super Mario Bros. 3. Okay, so that's not actually true, but it was the first time that a lot of people got to see that Tanuki suit Mario, myself included. Now in Japan, they had already gotten the third Mario in 1988, but coupled with the delay reworking Super Mario Bros. 2 for North America and European markets, alongside of a chip shortage in 1988, the worldwide release of Super Mario Bros. 3 was lagging behind. So why not tease it in a feature film, and why not use that film to highlight some other things that Nintendo had going on? A meeting takes place between Universal Pictures and Nintendo, and an idea is hatched. Let's take the idea of the video game competitions that Nintendo was doing and use that as the backbone of a film. Nintendo was on board and pretty hands-off throughout. Sure, they wanted a few things featured, but Nintendo was happy to consult when needed and let the team at Universal handle the rest. So Todd Holland gets tasked with directing the film, and the filming takes place between June 5th and July 25th of 1989, which was the window Fred Savage had to film given his schedule filming The Wonder Years, according to a Todd Holland interview with Retro Gamer magazine. There were the games, Mega Man 2, Double Dragon, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and plenty of others, but there were two brand new things that blew our collective gaming minds: Super Mario Bros. 3, of course, and the Powerglove.
The Powerglove for your NES. Now you and the games are one. The Powerglove. Everything else is child's play.
See The Powerglove in the hot new movie The Wizard, starring Fred Savage.
The Powerglove released in October of 1989, and according to The Wizard, it's the best way to play Rad Racer. For the record, it is not. The original Powerglove was designed by AGE, and it was an amazing piece of technology. According to an article in Mental Floss, the Data Glove, as it was called, was an $8,800 glove running on a $250,000 computer setup, but Mattel wanted to make them for Nintendo, and they wanted to sell them for $99. There were two games made specifically for the Powerglove: Bad Street Brawlers by Beam Software and Super Glove Ball, developed by Rare. You could theoretically use it for any Nintendo game, but you need the special code to type into your wrist to get the movements to work. I say work, it only ever barely worked. But man was it cool. I actually had one of these, and it was 100% terrible and 100% maybe the coolest thing I've ever owned. I'm not sure, but I probably got it in late 1990 or 1991 at a deep discount, because by then the rest of the world had figured out that it was terrible. But nothing was more 1989 than Lucas Barton opening that case and showing the world the Powerglove, and Jimmy would run back into Lucas at Video Armageddon, where we'd see for the first time in action Super Mario Bros. 3.
So I give you Super Mario Brothers 3!
So as I mentioned before, gamers in Japan had already saved Princess Peach, or Princess Toadstool. No, she was Princess Peach in Japan and Princess Toadstool here until 1993, or 1994. But definitely Princess Peach everywhere by 1996, I think. Anyway, Japan already had Super Mario Bros. 3, and we didn't, and we wanted it bad. The May of 1989 GamePro had a featurette on the Japanese version of the game, and a similar article in the July-August issue of Electronic Gaming Monthly. And with the exception of a name drop early in 1989, Nintendo Power would finally confirm its existence and give a release date in issue number 9 from November-December of 1989, which coincides nicely with the release of The Wizard, which released on December 15th, 1989. The Wizard would go on to earn about $14 million, and while the reviews at the time weren't great, it made money and more or less did what it set out to do, at least for Nintendo. It got us ready to shell out our dollars for Super Mario Bros. 3, and shell them out we did. The year of Nintendo taking over our collective imaginations with cereal and magazines and television shows and new games culminates with this movie, The Wizard, which is a movie that I love. It's not timeless necessarily in the way that Goonies or E.T. is, but it was very timely in a year that Nintendo became bigger than video games. Super Mario Bros. 3 then would release here in North America on February 12th, 1990, and sells 250,000 copies in its first 2 days. The sales wouldn't stop either. It would be the top-selling game on the NES in the US at least until September of 1990, with sales approaching $600 million. So when it released, Super Mario Bros. 3 was not only the highest-grossing video game of all time, but easily one of the highest-grossing pieces of media of all time.
It's Mario! Look, Ronald! Mario's mystery block makes him big!
And my magic box makes us lunch!
What's in McDonald's Happy Meal? One of 4 Nintendo Super Mario Bros. 3 toys. A Mario toy that jumps, or an acrobatic little Goomba, a pullback Luigi, or a hopping Koopa Paratroopa. One toy with each Happy Meal you buy.
Super Mario Bros. 3 would enter a new realm in the video game world, comparable maybe only to Pac-Man, but the audience numbers had skyrocketed. The game, the guides, the apparel, the lunchbox, the McDonald's Happy Meal toys, the animated show, which ran for 13 episodes at the tail end of 1990, there was nothing and there was nowhere that Super Mario Bros. 3 couldn't be. And I think it's because in 1989, Nintendo decided to fully take over how we thought about video games. Us gamers, 8-year-old me was ready for Super Mario Bros. 3, but Nintendo knew they needed to get the whole world on board with what video games would go on to become, and it worked. Remember the beginning of this episode? In North America, Nintendo sold 11 million consoles in 1988, and nearly double that in 1989, selling just shy of 20.5 million consoles, which was about 90% of the video game market share. Oh, and I almost forgot. In the midst of everything else Nintendo had going on that year, they also launched one of the most influential and best-selling video game systems of all time, the Game Boy. It launched on April 21st, 1989 in Japan, and July 31st here in North America. The Game Boy. Another thing, 1989.
This Christmas, Pepsi would like to help you celebrate the holidays with a chance of winning a present from Mario in the Pepsi Nintendo Holiday Game, where you could win one of thousands of terrific Nintendo prizes, like these action sets, game packs, and best of all, the sensational new Game Boy. So hurry up and play before it's all over. Look for details on how to win your Nintendo prize wherever you see these Pepsi holiday displays.
Now, I got my Nintendo for Christmas of 1988, or half my Nintendo technically. I guess my big brother got the other half. So I was the perfect age and the perfect consumer for the year to come. I loved my Nintendo. I loved renting games for it, getting game from the library, and getting to spend the week playing it, borrowing games from friends, reading Nintendo Power in the school library. I never had a subscription. 1989 changed the way I'd look at video games forever, and a lot of people to this day will call any video game system a Nintendo, and that's exactly what Nintendo of America spent that year making sure of. So let me know if you have any gaming memories from 1989 or before. What was your favorite release that year? Did you use the Powerglove to rack up a high score? Did you feverishly wait for school to get out so you could run home and pick up Super Mario Bros. 3? Did you see The Wizard in a theater, or were you a Sega player and all of this has been lost on you? Let me know down in the comments or on my social media. It's at Drink the Video Games on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and check out Spotify or YouTube for the video version of this podcast. If you want to support Drink the Video Games or my movie podcast, Drink the Movies, Patreon is the best place to do that. www.patreon.com/drinkthemovies. Bonus episodes, hangouts, cocktail chats, gaming sessions, and more can all be found over there. Now, I just scratched the surface on all of these topics today, and there's some great documentaries on YouTube that go deeper into every part of today's story. I'll link a few of my favorites down below. That's going to wrap it up for this episode, taking a look at Nintendo's very important year. But don't worry, I'll be back next month with an all-new episode. Cheers.